Okay, so for my project, I decided to do Helen Levitt. So a little about Helen Levitt. She was born August 31st, 1913 in Brooklyn, New York. She was an American street photographer and filmmaker whose work captured the beauty of everyday life in New York City. She began her career in photography at about 18 and was working in a portrait studio in the Bronx. And she has been called the most celebrated and least known photographer of her time. So a little bit more. Levitt particularly, she stuck to the streets of New York when taking pictures. She focused more on the less fortunate areas and the poor neighborhoods. After being in photography for a while, she went to the filmmaking industry, but she soon returned to photography. So, as you can see on the right, this is a portrait photo. There's two kids, a young boy and a young girl. Um, one young black male and one young white female. So I like this image in particular because it conveys a mood of happiness and joy. And it causes me to feel happiness because of the joy that these two young kids are experiencing. They could be playing a game or doing whatever, but they're both experiencing happiness. And I like to see that. Yeah, and also I would like to point out that the shadow in the background um, kind of draws the attention of the viewer into the center of the picture where the two kids are playing. For my second image, there's these four boys, and this is another portrait photo. The portrait photos seem to be a theme in the majority of Levitt's work that I've noticed. Um, and again, we see Levitt depicting kids hanging out and having fun. We can obviously infer by the looks and the smiles on their faces, they seem to be enjoying themselves. Um, and in this particular photo, I enjoyed how Levitt kind of used four kids, especially in this photo, because by using these four kids, she kind of creates a line down the middle of the photo and evenly splitting the picture into two pieces. Obviously, it's not symmetrical, but so for my third photo, this is obviously a bit different from the first two. In the previous ones, we saw a lighter mood, a happier vibe, and many of the subjects were younger kids. But this photo, it portrays, it's another portrait, obviously, and it portrays gentlemen outside with a look of like seriousness on their face. And this creates obviously a serious tone. And by looking at their faces, it kind of gives us a feel that maybe they've been working all day. They look like they're worried possibly, but right now they're on break. And it kind of shows that in contrast to our other photos, like the other side of New York, like how the hustling side, um, the hardworking side, and yeah. So for my fourth image, again, more kids. I feel like this image has a deeper meaning, and that's what kind of hit me the most. So, like on the outside, you see like just kids playing around and talking, but I feel like there's a lot more. So at the time of this photo was taken, there was a lot of social and racial inequality and injustice going on, and I feel like Levitt really shows how the environment of New York could break down those injustices and bring unique and diverse people together. Because as you can see in the photo, there are different races, the girls and the guy. The next image I have is very similar, but a different mood and tone than the other images. So in the previous ones, you saw happiness and joy in the faces of the people. However, in this picture, it does show people having a good time. I think Levitt does a good job of conveying the theme of community here. So she really shows how New York in the 30s and 40s really brought people and families together as one large whole. So even though there are many hardships at this time, at the end of the day, the people around you is the most important thing. And I feel Levitt does a fantastic job of getting this message across in this image. So for my sixth image, this has a more serious mood to it. So in many of her photos, the audience sees the good, the happy. Um, but in this photo, however, She shows almost that life isn't always the best and there are struggles. You can see by their faces a look of worry and um, possibly anxiety. Uh, I don't particularly like this because it makes me a little sad and think of dark times just based on their faces, just says it all. And but Levitt uses framing very well, the framing of the window to draw us into the faces of the shocked expressions. So for the seventh image, Levitt again uses the portrait image like many of our previous images. This picture also has a similar theme to it. Uh, this image includes more composition techniques and that make this picture so good. So first, Levitt uses framing in the bottom portion of the picture to draw attention to the kid leaning inside the box. And this draws our attention toward the center of the photo where we see a heart on the board behind them. And I feel like this heart kind of adds to the overall theme, which is to show how the street life that Levitt so often depicts contributes enormously to the health and spirit of the entire city. So, Helen Levitt legacy. She did many things. She created objects of fascination drawn from the almost mundane reality of everyday life. She transformed scenes and subjects into performances that flirt with like the intimate moments captured in her work. Um, they spoke, and it spoke to the wonders of the human condition. And finally, street photography, as well as the use of color photography, influenced photographers Lee Friedlander, Mary Ellen Mark, Alex Prager, and Joseph Zabala. And here's a few of my sources, and that's all. Thank you.